Hey, and welcome back to another episode. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. And it really stemmed from something that happened while I was driving back from taking my oldest son to college this past weekend. And so we were driving back up, it's about probably 10 hours on the road out of a 13-hour drive. And I'm in New Jersey, still driving, and I still have a long way to go. And I noticed that there was a rainbow like right in front of me. And I was driving over the Como Bridge. Some people know it as like the Tampan Sea Bridge. So I was driving over that, and on the other side of the water, coming up over the hilltop, I could see a rainbow. And I looked to my daughter and I said, "Hey, look, there's a rainbow." Because she's 9, so she still gets excited about rainbows, thankfully. And she was like, "There's no rainbow there, Dad." And I said, "No, there is. Look, there's a rainbow there." And she goes, "No, there's not. I can't see it." And I was like, "Hold on." And so I took my glasses off, and I was wearing these sunglasses that are designed for boating. No, I don't boat. I don't do any of that. But the only thing that fit my head and looked good when I was looking for sunglasses. So I took the glasses off, and then the rainbow disappeared. And so I gave my sunglasses to my daughter. I said, "No, put these on and look." And she looked, she goes, "Oh yeah, there is a rainbow." I mean, and it was bright and it was vibrant. You could see all the colors. And without the glasses though, you couldn't see it. Without that perspective of looking through a different tinted lens, you would not be able to see the rainbow. And so that made me think about how we as leaders, often we do not turn our burdens into blessings. And maybe we need to shift our perspective a little bit and turn them into blessings. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about how great leaders turn their burdens into blessings.
This is Tim Staten with Tim Stating the Obvious. What is this podcast about? It's simple. You are entitled to great leadership everywhere you go, whether it's to church, whether it's to work, whether it's at your house, you are entitled to great leadership. And so in this podcast, we take leadership principles and theories and turn them into everyday, relatable, and usable advice.
And a quick disclaimer, this show, process, or service by trademark manufacturer, otherwise does not necessarily constitute an implied endorsement of anyone that I am employed by or favors them in representation. The views are expressed here in my show are my own expressed and do not necessarily state or reflect those of any employer.
So first, I would like to define what a burden is in relation to what we're talking about. Because oftentimes some people might get offended or might not quite understand what I mean by a burden. So a burden in the sense of responsibility, a burden refers to a heavy or significant obligation or duty that someone must bear or carry. It implies a sense of weight and pressure associated with the responsibility, often because it's challenging, it's demanding, and it carries serious consequences if we don't do it right. And the burden can be either emotional, mental, or physical, and it often requires a significant amount of effort and care and attention to manage it. And so now that we kind of know what a burden is, let's talk about a blessing. What do I mean by a blessing? Well, a blessing is a positive, beneficial event or condition that brings happiness, comfort, or good fortune. It can also refer to something that one is grateful for, often perceived as a gift or a favor, whether from a divine source, another person, or a circumstance. And in a broader sense, a blessing can be anything that enhances well-being, brings peace, provides a sense of fulfillment. So with those two definitions in mind, that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. We're going to be talking about how we're going to take our burdens and put them into blessings. And I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, okay, here we go with toxic positivity. I'm so sick and tired of toxic positivity. This is not that. But I am arguing that having normal, mundane outlook at things can cause negativity and harm more than it does cause any good. We need to create environments and atmospheres where people want to be around us, where people want to be there. And by being able to flip our burdens into blessings, this creates that environment. And here's what I mean by this. And here's some real world examples that literally happened leading up to this epiphany. So my Dane Mastiff, who weighs about 131 pounds, got sick and is getting older. And the other day, before I took my son back to college, around 4 a.m., she got sick and defecated all over the house and the couch. She got, I don't know what she got, but she was super sick. And as I got up and got ready for the day, I headed downstairs and like, bam, you know, like when your dog just kind of doo-doos in the house and it just knocks you out. That smell that hits you, you're like, whoa. And so I immediately got upset and frustrated because I knew I was going to have to clean it up. I was going to be late for work. I, didn't even have my coffee yet. I didn't even eat breakfast yet. And there was nothing normal that, abnormal that I was doing and differentiated for my day for the dog to do this in the house. I was getting super frustrated because I knew I was going to have to clean this up. And luckily, we have leather couches, so it's easier to clean, but it still took like an hour to clean the couch, and then it took even longer to clean the floors and etc. So I immediately started getting this sense of frustration. Like, why did I have to clean it? I was going to be late for work. I was going to have a vet bill. It's how sick is the dog? Is the dog going to need medication? The dog weighs a lot, needs like people medication. It's going to be super expensive. And it's going to cost me more money in the long run. And so the burden of taking care of the dog took on its form, or the responsibility of taking care of the dog started to weigh on me. But instead, I could have looked at it this way. I could have looked at it like I was blessed that I had the ability to clean it up. I was blessed that I have a dog. I was blessed that I could clean up after it because probably one day soon, because she's old, I'm not going to be able to take care of her anymore, and I'm going to miss the dog. So it's a blessing that I even get to do that. And somewhere out there, someone is longing to take care of a dog and would be happy for another instance, maybe not to necessarily pick up the dog doo, but to take care of the dog. And I get what you're saying. How could cleaning up dog doo-doo be a blessing? So here's another example. I was taking my oldest son back to college, and I was like, it's a 10+ hour drive to get him there. Then I have to get his stuff out of storage in 90-degree plus heat after driving for 10 hours. And then after we did that, he had some stuff that he didn't think about. So we had to go to Walmart and we had to buy him some new stuff for his dorm. And then he was like, Dad, can you buy me some cleaning supplies for my dorm room? And then immediately I started thinking, like, dude, you worked all summer. You had a job. You can buy your own stuff. But I didn't say it, but I thought it. I said, okay. And we started going through all the cleaning supplies that he would need because, you got to have a clean dorm and want things to be fresh and everything else when you move in. And then it was like $120 at checkout for cleaning supplies. And I was like, why does it have to cost so much? Why does cleaning supplies need to be so expensive? Like, what's going on? Oh, I was mad about inflation. And then this thought creeped up on me. This is his senior year. You won't be able to buy him cleaning supplies again for his dorm. You won't be able to help him move into college again. You are blessed to be able to do this. You are blessed that you have a job that you can take off and have vacation time to help him move in. Not everyone can. And it started thinking to myself, like, do you know how many parents out there would love to do this here and are thinking about how they can't be there to help their kids move in because they have to take care of the responsibility? And instead of, looking at my responsibilities as burdens, I should be counting them as blessings. Like, I was blessed to be able to be there and help him move in and help him get cleaning supplies and help him empty his storage room because other people would have loved to have done that and been there and couldn't. And instead of viewing the responsibility of being a dad and an involved dad, I did not necessarily catch the blessing at the time. And it dawned on me. It was like, wow, how often do we do this in everyday life where we are viewing our responsibilities as burdens and not really counting them as blessings? So I think that one can resonate more with people than the dog story, but they're all equally valid. And this is true in everything that we do. Let's take a step further in the office place. How often do we catch ourselves going, I have another meeting to go to. Why do I have to go in the office today when I could be teleworking? 80% teleworking is good. Now they're moving me down to 75% teleworking. Why do I have to go in more? Or why do I have to do these annual evaluations or performance improvement plans or keep mentoring these people and talking to them and pouring into them day in and day out? Why? Why do we keep having to do this? It's such a burden. It's such a responsibility that we have to keep doing it. And if you name it, we find ourselves always focusing on the burden of the responsibility than the blessing of it. For example, I'm blessed that I have a job that I can contribute to in a meeting. I am blessed that I can drive into the office in a car and get to do a job that I still have. I am blessed that I can help develop the people in my charge and impart the knowledge that I have learned over the years to make them better and the organization better. So the perspective is different, but the situation is still the same. And when we look at things from this lens and this perspective, we can start to see the joys in life that we didn't know were there. And this creates a positive atmosphere because we're constantly looking and choosing to focus on the blessings and the joys and the positive things about the situations that were going on versus the negative burden of the thing. And just like the rainbow that I told you about at the beginning of this episode, this doesn't happen overnight. But it does have to be intentional, and it does take work. I myself am still working on it. And it was so impactful for me that I really had to develop this episode. It was like, hey, I've got to tell other people about this because this is key. So if you don't know where to start on how to do this, I have 3 different options that we can help work this framework. The first thing that you can do is you can reframe the situation. You can change the way you view the burden, and that can alter its impact. Turn it into a blessing. Instead of seeing a responsibility as a heavy load, consider it as an opportunity for growth or a chance to develop a new skill. For instance, a challenging work project can be seen as a way to enhance your expertise or advance your career and build your resume, which is going to benefit you in the long run. Another thing you can do is seek support and you can collaborate. Sharing burdens with others can make them more manageable. Whether it's seeking advice, delegating tasks, or simply talking about your challenges, involving other people can provide new insights, reduce your stress, and foster a sense of community. It's taking a burden and turning it into a shared blessing. You never know who is going through what you're going through unless you share it. And by them hearing what you're going through can make them feel like they're not crazy and that they're normal. And they can in turn share that with you, and you could feel the same way. And now you're in this together and you're not alone. And you will feel more joy in that. It will not change the circumstance, but it will change your perception of it. And the last thing that you can do is you can focus on positive outcomes. You can concentrate on the potential benefits that can arise from overcoming this burden or responsibility. This might involve setting new goals that align with your values or recognizing the long-term advantages of handling a difficult responsibility. By focusing on what you stand to gain, the burden of it can start to feel like a stepping stone towards a greater reward. So I want to offer up to you a challenge. Try this for 1 week with everything and see what difference it makes in your life. Let me know in the comments down below on the impact this has made in your life. And if this is something that you've been doing for a long time, share what impact that has made in your life, because I'm sure other people want to hear it, especially if they're going to try it for like a week. It'd be great to hear from other people who have already done this and the impact it has already made on their life. Again, that's sharing and seeking support. When we start to look and count our blessings, we start to live in abundance instead of living in a deficit. And living in an abundance is a completely different topic that we can talk about. If you want to hear it, just let me know down below. Just type in abundance and we'll go over it. But again, I'm really curious about how you're going to turn your burdens into blessings. As always, thank you for stopping by and listening to this episode. I really hope that you enjoyed it. But before we go, I would like to ask a favor if you could. I'm trying to get more awareness for this episode. So if you could please share this episode with 1 or 2 people who might like this topic. And if you haven't followed or subscribed on whatever platform you're doing that, please do. And if you haven't hit all the bells and the whistles and the icons and the alerts and everything else to let you know when we post another episode, please do that too, because I don't want to waste your time. If you got some value out of this episode, please leave a review or a comment so we can help spread the show with people who might be interested in these topics but just haven't found this show yet. Again, thanks for stopping by. I'm Tim Staten, stating the obvious.